Yes.
Good evening, Carl and
Hello, Miss
world.
Kelly.
How you doing today?
Better,
Yeah.
better. Last week was kind of rough in some ways. Yeah, it was not in some ways. It was. Motivation wise, and one of the things that a couple things happened last week. Real briefly, I was still coming down from the Costa Rica trip, which of course
Right.
was that I was in a high from that one. I was like flying high, and then. Um, on Thursday, I had a follow up with my orthopedic doctor about my back from the accident that I was in. I had an MRI done. And, he looked at it and he said, well, yeah, there's some additional damage. Looks like there's some more, disc
Mm.
separation and so forth. And so the prognosis isn't great. I mean, of course, all I can do is PT. I'm not a candidate for surgery. It's not that severe. But it's still the chronic pain. And that isn't all the time. Like I feel okay now. And I mean, I exercise this evening. I went for a little bike ride, which helps. But it's like, I think reality just kind of hit me like, okay, this is something that you're really going to be living with for the rest of your life to some degree. Now, mind you, I'm going to try to follow, doctor's orders, do the PT, strengthen the core, all that stuff. But for right now, it's like, it is what it is, and that's what I'm facing. And I think that was kind of like disheartening and just, yeah. So, and I mean, trust me, my chronic pain issues are nothing like what other people deal with. So I'm not, it's not a pity party. I know people that live with serious chronic pain, and I don't know how they do it, and they manage it sometimes with medication or other means, but still, pain's pain. And like I know getting out of bed in the morning is a significant thing for me that I have to deal with. And so, but I have to accept it. I have to learn to live with it. And but that threw me. It was like hearing, like when I talked to him, I'll just leave it at this. He described it this way. He said, like your spine, like when it's healthy, it's like a twig that you take in springtime and you throw it against the wall and it just bends. He said, well, your spine is like, in the winter when it's brittle, you throw it against the wall and it just cracks and breaks apart. So I've already had degenerative disc disease. So it's, I'm prone to injury if something happens. And basically the car accident basically exacerbated the injury.
Right.
So, that's it. And then just, life and just stuff. So.
It's that
And
stuff.
you've got some changes in your life, major changes.
I have, and first of all, I'm trying to multitask and do two things at once, and I'm at the point where I'm only capable truly of concentrating on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Like that's it. But you talk about change. So I was trying to share our feed tonight, but I can't figure out how to do it and pay attention at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that just is what it is. So
which maybe I can try to do it. Well, I'll do it on mine. I don't know if I could do it for everybody, but yeah. Well,
but then I can grab it if you do.
But the thing is, so Kelly, first of all, you have a new gig, daytime gig, but then you also have your other project.
Right, and so the first being, having the Rubinger Fellowship and developing a program in a year, which I mean, it's still very realistic, and I wrote it in a very attainable way, but it wasn't something that I was expecting.
Right.
It wasn't something I was searching for. It's always something I've wanted to do, but I was not actively looking for this opportunity, and it presented itself, and it was perfect.
Right.
And then so that was this fall, right? And then
Right.
taking a new position at UB and leaving ECMC, even with all of the change that we've all been talking about, right, for the last year. It's March, so for the last year, I didn't realize the amount of stability that came with being in my job, like being in that, just in that position for the length of the time I had been there. And, you know what to expect, even in the midst of, worldwide chaos. You still, there's rules, there's, boundaries, even in the midst of, everything else. And so, switching to a new environment, even though the work is similar and it's something I love to do and I'm excited about the project and the team is great, the fact that it's a change of that magnitude, I didn't realize that there was a magnitude at all to even attach to it, because I'm thinking, I've prepared for this. I've given enough time for me to adjust in my mind. Right? I gave enough notice, and I talked to all my people at ECMC, and everybody is like hugging and great. I mean, not really hugging because social distancing, but it was a hugging atmosphere.
Virtually hugging. Yeah. Giving you love.
But just good vibes, right? With being able to share the joy of the new position at UB. A lot of times when people change jobs, it's like super hush hush, and it's like, I'm leaving, but don't tell anybody where I'm going, and that wasn't the case. And everyone's very supportive and excited. They all know that mental health is my mission, is my passion. So to be able to work on a project like this, mental health driven, for the Black community, on top of that, really was just like, I couldn't ask for a better opportunity. Back in academia, so I have that background. I'm comfortable, in that arena, but it's still a huge, can I say huge change.
Yeah.
And it, from the things that make sense, being, I was working from home, and then everyone, had to come back into the office at the hospital. Here, we're 2 days in the office and 3 days at home. And you would think, oh, well, I'm getting 3 days back at home, so that should be great. But it's 2 days in a place that's foreign to me.
Right.
It's a new office. No one is really in the building. There's never anybody in the suite that I'm in, and my door is closed. And so it's just, the campus is empty, right? So even though
Are you on South or North?
South Campus.
Gotcha.
In Windy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, in Windy Hall. So it's just different. And knowing that change for me is, what we call a trigger.
Yep.
I was still mindful to pay attention, even though I didn't think it would be as impactful as it was. But it got to the point, Carl, I made a list of all of my commitments and I started crossing stuff off. I sent out emails and made phone calls. I have too much on my plate. Right? I have to give myself the time and energy it's going to take to adjust to this change. And it's things that I love to do, but there are commitments I'll keep, and there are commitments that I had to say no to. And things, I signed up to, maybe be on a board for 3 years. I've had to maybe resign that position, to give you an example, right? And so I'm reneging on a commitment, but I can't be in a position. I should be in a position to care, but I need to care more about my health, more about navigating this change, which I know is going to take more energy than I do about things that I know other people would excel at, as well.
I can just real quickly, I can affirm and relate. So continue. Totally relate. Well, even the board resignation, I've done that. Resigned from boards because, I get that.
And it is what it is. But I think because I undervalued the impact that the change would have on my life, had a greater impact on my physical body. I haven't been sleeping well. I haven't been sleeping well for months, which is not good. It's gotten better, but not to, where I really want it to be. And then, earlier we were talking about the difference between a personality disorder and other types of mental illnesses. And there's no real remission. We talk about remission before I've really been doing more research into borderline personality disorder. And it is the tools that you use to manage on a daily basis, because any day without those tools can be a horrible day, just by nature of what the illness itself is.
Right.
Which, I mean, and so again, change. By learning more about the illness itself, that has shed a light on personality traits and things that I've done that I think are unique to me, that is very much typical for people that are in this group. And so it takes some of the, I'm still awesome, don't get me wrong, but it takes some of the uniqueness, right, out of, in my opinion. It's not necessarily, but it feels that way. It's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, change is significant for anyone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so change oftentimes is a stress inducer, whatever you want to call that. It produces stress in our lives. And, when you talked about the tools, that's why it's so important to have the tools.
Right.
You also said the idea of just having to let go of commitments, and then, being careful of getting overwhelmed and only focusing on one thing at a time. It's funny. I do some coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my clients last night I was with, this guy, and he's talking about all these projects he has, and he's having a hard time, including one significant life change in his life. And he just saying like he's having trouble getting started, right, with all these different things. And I said, well, sometimes when that happens, well, first of all, it helps to prioritize, right? What's the most important thing? And then, break it down, right? I mean, to the point where you don't have to complete the whole thing at once, right? Just take it in chunks, right?
Right.
Work on it for an hour, do something else, work on something else, and then come back to it. I don't know about you, Kelly, but when of course, like I said, I have a lot of different things going on, different projects, but sometimes if I let myself fall into this idea of oh my gosh, there's so much to do, it's real easy to freeze, like why to freeze? You go into that freeze, like you get stuck, like, and then that's where procrastination comes, and that's where you don't even know where to begin. So one of the things I try to do is just sometimes, it's the idea of the lowest hanging fruit, right? You take care of the easy projects, knock those out of the way. But it's different for everybody. So it's the whole point is that you find what works for you, and that's what you do. And so, I mean, obviously, with your new job, your full-time day job, you're being tasked with some things that, get you thinking differently and using different parts of your brain, maybe, or things you haven't quite done the same way. So it's an adjustment. And I mean, I tell you, like I said, I'm not telling you that you already know that, but still to go through it is still significant.
It is. And it is understanding the significance and allowing yourself time to live in that space. Mm-hmm. Right. I didn't want to like bring stuff into the office and decorate, but those 2 days, I'm like, I just can't look at these walls. Although I have an amazing view of the campus, so that's super exciting. But because I have a window, I was able to bring in plants. So now I've got like 5 plants, and they're small. It's not like jungle, plants, but add a little greenery, a little life, and that, talk about tools, gave me something to look at. It gave me, it really breathed life into the space. It wasn't just this sterile environment.
Right.
That may have been populated with people previously and other noises and sounds, and it's very quiet and really desolate feeling. And so to shake those days up, to shake that time up being on campus really was necessary. And like today, I'm still it is taking a physical toll on me, and I have to act accordingly, so not just those long-term commitments, but day by day. Last week, we didn't go live because I wasn't feeling well, right? And so this week, I figured I'd feel better by now. And in this moment, I feel well. But when I came home from work, I crashed in the big chair and couldn't move. Like, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
That's why, I told you I don't know about tonight. I'm exhausted. So I didn't do Bible study, and I really had to just take a step back.
Yeah.
And listen, at 9:02, I plan to either be eating something delicious or taking a hot shower or something, right? Because I have to really tap into all of those tools that I know are necessary for me to stay healthy. And realizing, I think for the first time in a while, I don't know how long, but I can't tell you when I've ever had this thought this way, was like, I'm not normal.
Mm.
Like, I'm really not normal. Like, this illness, and I try not to call it a disease, but right now it's feeling very disease-like. Like, this disease it's real, and I know that it's real.
Yeah.
But right now it's real.
Yeah.
And but I'm still healthy, right? I'm not oversleeping. I'm not, crying all day. I'm not flipping over tables. I'm not, either, in a depression, because that's also part of the diagnosis. I'm not in a depressive state, but it's very much, the symptoms are at a higher state of awareness, and I can feel them more so than I can normally feel them.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, so putting on my counselor hat. I mean, everything you're talking about is screaming, change and routine and adjustment and all that stuff. Like some people have, as you know, adjustment disorder is an actual diagnosis where people have difficulty with change, and then it manifests in certain ways. I'm not saying that's what you have, but remember, mental health is on a spectrum.
Right.
Right. So you might be on the lower end of that adjustment. Not even saying it's a disorder, but I'm just saying the lower end of the adjustment continuum, but it's present and it's impacting you. And, hence the fatigue, hence the motivation, and all you want to do is just, dive into that, whatever that's yummy.
Salad. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean,
right. I'm just saying, whatever that. I just fill in the blank. But you know what though? See, you're resilient. See, this is the thing, Kelly. Chances are you haven't had this kind of change in a long time, right?
No, Carl.
When was the last time you changed jobs? When was the last time you changed a job?
I've been there 7 years.
Yeah, so think about that.
I've changed positions within the building.
No, I'm just saying, like just like going to a new organization and all that.
Right.
Yeah, so that's significant.
And that's significant for me. Because, I get mad. Like, I think today's my last day. Granted, I haven't been that way in probably about 30 years.
Right.
How old am I? About 20 years. But when considering the diagnosis, considering how it manifests itself, again, thinking I'm this rebel and, this, Afrocentric queen, and which those things are true, right? Like, I am who I am, but at the same time, I'm thinking that those things are the reasons why I do some of the things that I do. Come to find out, they're symptoms of my illness, and it's okay when it's not debilitating, but when it gets to the point of being debilitating, of being limiting, of holding me back from doing the things I want to do in life, that's when I'll say the illness kicks in, for lack of a better example. And being able to, like I said, I'm doing a deeper dive into borderline personality disorder. And the more I read, the more I verbatim, Carl, see what I have said to other people and myself in very specific situations.
Mm.
And I'm like, how is that possible that I use those exact same words in that exact same situation that felt, unique and individual to me? Like, how can an illness manifest itself in a way that my brain functions in the same way that all these other thousands of people function?
Yeah.
For a book to be written that is verbatim my life,
Right.
it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And so it's humbling, but at the same time, I'm able to take those, I guess, like rays of sunshine from other folks that have kind of transitioned into this side of the condition, where you do have stable employment and you have, healthy relationships, and you have the ability to look at your actions before you react. And there are a group of us that have gotten to that point in our journey, in our recovery. Um, but those other things are still very real.
Mm.
I can still, it's it's very interesting, to say the least. I'll put it that way. To be able to see how all of this is unfolding, how it's all
But let
working.
me just say this too, though. One thing that you definitely have going for you is you have insight.
True.
Right? And so, that's one of the things that people who live with a mental health condition of any kind, if you have insight, and what I mean by insight, for those who may not know, insight is basically knowing yourself, how you react, how you deal with triggers, knowing, like, as I like to always say, knowing what makes you tick. That's like the colloquial way I put it. So if you know what makes you tick, if you know, how you operate, or how your condition manifests, or whatever, all those things. I mean, the more insight you have, the better you will be in terms of managing your health, your mental health. And even if you're struggling, at least you know why you're struggling. Like, for me,
Right.
the last week has been a challenge, but I know why. I definitely know why. It's a few things. Like, so, I came back and I've been on this low carb kind of thing, and, trying to do all that. And then, trying to be really, and I haven't been 100%. I'm being honest. I kind of fell off a couple times, but for the most part, I've been doing great with it. But then again, I'm thinking to myself, should I be doing this? Like, in fact, tomorrow, this will be interesting. You find this interesting. Tomorrow, I have an appointment with a functional medicine doctor. I'm meeting with a functional medicine doctor to talk about a whole health approach.
Okay.
I had an appointment with my, primary yesterday. I told him, but this doctor is someone who looks takes, like I said, a whole body approach, looks at things from nutrition and ways to heal holistically. And so with my particular health conditions that I have, that prompted me to make some changes. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing and that I'm getting the proper guidance. So I'm excited to talk to her. We have like an hour and a half intake set up.
Wow.
I mean, who does that, right? Who does that? So, not covered by insurance, I'll just say it, but that's, hey, so be it. But the reality is, I mean, I feel privileged that I can do that. Obviously not everybody can do that.
Right.
But I really want to know how to best take care of my health. But that's one of the things I think that might be impacting maybe my mood or just me. So that's one thing. Then the back thing, that's another thing. And then work, right? Even work related issues, so it's like a trifecta that of life issues, but I know what they are.
Right.
And knowing what they are basically says that, you know what? This is what I got. I got the tools. Now, am I going to use the tools? So I've been meditating still. I've been praying. I wanted a bike ride this evening. That was incredibly fun. I mean, I realized how much I like it. And once again, that's a privilege because not everybody has a bike. Not everybody can do that. But I got a chance to exercise, which I think many people can do, hopefully in one way or the other. Or move their body. I'll just put it that way. So I did all these things, but but I got the tools, and you have the tools. We have to, access and use those tools,
Right.
which is really important. So, so you have the tools, and you've said already, what the tools are. Sometimes it takes an effort to get them going, though. That's the thing. Like okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I know it's gonna help me,
Right.
It's an effort, but
and to catch it before it goes too far.
Exactly. Because that's where I was going. Like, I know I was heading in you know what my wife said to me yesterday morning? Because I was struggling. I was actually just like getting out of bed it was Monday morning. Because yesterday morning I had a 6:45 doctor's appointment. My doctor starts at 6 a.m, Kelly. But anyway, yeah, he's wild. But Monday morning it was like tough getting out of bed. She actually came to me, Kelly, and said, "Do you think you need to talk to somebody?" Now I know that's a warning sign. My wife says that. They're like, okay, it's really, I need to, check myself.
Yeah.
So if it gets to that point, but I have someone who can do that for me. Not everybody has someone who's able to say, hey, do you need to talk to somebody, or even have that relationship where they're able to say that. And I wasn't even offended. I was like, well, I think I'll be okay. My appointment's next week and so forth. My therapist, I think I'm okay, but I did take it to heart. Right. But I did end up calling my sponsor, calling my NA sponsor. I did reach out. So, once again, I use the tools.
And I thank you for that. One, because we don't very often, we collectively, not you and I, get to a place where we can talk about, hey, I feel myself on a slip and I need to catch myself. We often wait and we bottle up and, we ignore the signs and symptoms and, like, oh, it's not that bad, or, oh, I just need to take a nap, or, you have to be able to look at that checkbox, or the checklist and say, these are the things that I'm going through and I'm experiencing. And that means no matter how I'm feeling or what I think, that means that I need to implement A, B, C, and D, right? But we have to get to the point where we make the list. Like, you got to know the things to look out for within you to know that you've gotten to the point where you need help.
Yep.
And to get it, when you whatever it is, if it's number 3, if it's number 15 on the list, whatever it is on your list of things,
right?
When you get to that list and it's time to ask for help, you have to do that then.
Yep.
Or make changes, whatever the change is that you need to address or fix. It is imperative to do it then. Yes. I can't imagine had I not taken some things off of my plate and just still, I probably would still appear fine because I haven't been in it that long. But I know long term, it's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. It's like an intervention, a self.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, I would say thanks, Amanda, for your comment. It's like a introduced intervention. What do you call it? It's like a self-induced intervention. But that's once again a feature of knowing yourself. And when
I talk about self-care, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But that's a form of intervention.
Yeah.
Right? To know that, okay, things aren't going well, so I need to do something to be proactive so I don't keep going down this path of despair and difficulty.
Right. And that it's okay. Right. Like, I'm thankful that I'm able to, and here's the other thing, Carl, I have no idea if the folks at the new place are going to watch this and be like, oh, did you know that Kelly, like that, like, they're new people.
Yeah.
They could easily, and I don't know, the ink's not even dry. I don't think my badge works in all the doors, right? So it's easy to, it's easy to reverse, a yes and make that yes a maybe not, or we'll see, right? So that's a part of the change. The fear is a strong word, but it is still it is not knowing how they will react.
Yeah, and of course, I think the only way to remedy that is to do what's asked of you, right? I mean, frankly, because no one could take away how you perform.
Right.
And I know in the system in which you are working, it's based on job performance evaluations. I mean, my wife works at the university too, so I know very well how things are done. And so it's just a matter of there's always hierarchy and checks and balances and all these protocols. And so, I mean, the main thing is that you're in this job. There's a probationary period. You do these things, all this stuff. But the bottom line is, you're still being productive, right? And so the idea is to maintain. Yeah, well, yeah, you are.
I am.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I mean, but and of course it's new too. So there's that adjustment period. I mean, you've heard the saying, it takes a year to get into a new job and learn the job, and it seems like a daunting task. Oh my God, a year, but it takes that long to really get into that groove and kind of know what you're doing, and know the people, and know the system. But every day it's a learning experience.
It really is. And it's okay to stumble. It's okay to,
Yeah,
make mistakes. It's okay to
of course.
be human. As difficult as it may seem sometimes, being an alien's probably, far fancier, but it's a journey. It is a journey.
And I'll say this too. One thing I was saying to my client last night as well was, is to make sure you give yourself affirmations, and that you make sure you give yourself that positive self-talk.
Yes.
Right. I can do this. I'm successful. Because that self-talk makes a big difference in terms of how we view ourselves and our capability and our ability to be able to succeed at what we do.
I saw an interview with Michael Phelps when he was talking about, his challenges with mental health. And something that I share with clients all the time is his self-talk routine. He had to say something positive about himself every time he walked through a doorway. Right? And you have no choice. I mean, for me to leave my bedroom and go to the bathroom, that's 2 doorways, 3 if you consider the archway, right? And then to come back, that's 3 more. Right? And so that's 6 times in a 5-minute period that I said something positive about myself.
Right.
And because you say, well, when am I supposed to say something positive to myself?
Right.
You have the negative self-talk just playing. It's not like you are purposely, it's there, but you have to purposely then interrupt that cycle. And that I found people love that.
Yep.
People love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got this, you do. It's a transition thing. And, and also remember to be gentle with ourselves, and to remember that, to allow for us to be human and go through these things, but also remember to reach out, right?
Always.
Reach out for help, talk to somebody, and that's another way that we get through these things. So we don't, I don't care who you are. I mean, you don't get through this stuff alone. And if you try to, then that's when things can go really south. At least my opinion. I think we all need someone to lean on during these periods. Of course, you can always lean on me, Kelly. You know that.
When I'm not strong?
Yep. Like Bill Withers always said.
Yes, you'll be my friend.
I'll help you carry on.
Carry on? Okay. Thank you. Because it won't be long. So you're going to need somebody to lean on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be tonight's musical moment. Did you post it? It's late. It already went up, didn't it?
No, I didn't post. I post those late. I don't know why. I think I'm in the habit of doing it. It's like my evening routine, like later in the evening. My mental health soundtrack. So that usually goes up a little bit later.
Cool beans.
I usually do it like after the show. I'm thinking of something for after the show tonight.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, it's actually after the show time, because it's.
Oh my gosh, it is! Wow.
Yeah.
That was fast. That means it was a good one.
Yeah, my body knows, because it's like it's 9:05. Yes, it's time to go get in the bed. But before we leave you all, we want to make sure that we give you resources, places to call and go if you are in need of assistance. As always, if you're experiencing a medical emergency, please dial 911 or go to your nearest emergency room. If you are looking for a way to find services, human services, adult daycare or mental health services, social services questions, anything you might be thinking of but don't know how to get that information, dial 211 or go to 211.org. That is in the chat. Then they have a keyword search. If you call 211 on your phone, you can talk to someone and tell them what you're looking for, and they'll look it up and give you all that information. I don't remember, Carl, if I do. I know I do more than that. I just don't remember.
Well, yeah, so I know I usually add, if you're looking for just general mental health services, specifically in West New York, you can call the Mental Health Advocates of West New York. You did post in the chat.
Yep.
The telephone number is 716-886-1242. And also, crisis services is where you would call if you feel you are considering taking your life. And we know that that could be a reality. And we know that there's been a spike during COVID with calls and with people attempts and so forth, and even those who actually die by suicide. So we want to make sure that folks who are watching or who may know someone who's watching that's struggling, emotions and feelings change, and they will change. So remember, it is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So don't go that way. So the number is 716-834-3131. Niagara County, it's 716-285-3515, or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-TALK. Or you could text HELP to 741-741.
That one I usually remember, but I know that one's yours, not mine. So until next time, thank you everyone for joining us. I am Kelly Marie Wilford. I'm founder of Front Seat Life, LLC, and we didn't do that at the beginning of the show. And my co-host, Carl Shallowhorn.
But boy, I got you. I got one more announcement.
What?
Tomorrow evening at 6:30.
Oh, yes.
The Buffalo chapter of the NAACP is having the third in the series of webinars, panel discussions on COVID. And so our focus tomorrow night is maternity, women who are expecting or with young children. Mm-hmm. And so we have a panel discussion I'm moderating. We have Dr. Fred Archer, along with Dr. I can't remember her first name, Berga, I think it is, from Buffalo General. And we have a community member, a young mom who has a child, that experienced pregnancy during COVID. So it's going to be a great conversation. You can just jump on over to the NAACP Facebook page to get information on that. You can register, or you can just jump on that page, on tomorrow night at 6:30, and it's free. And it's going to be a great discussion for those. And of course, you're a sponsor. I'm a sponsor, along with others.
Yeah, I put the link in the chat, so
excellent.
You guys can just click on that and head over to the event page.
Great.
And there's other things coming up too, Carl, but I'll get it together for next week.
Okay. Hey.
Hopefully there's nothing coming up between today and next week.
You get a pass.
Yeah.
You get a pass.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Be the light.
Be well, folks.